This is Enterprise Unleashed Business Law and Innovation. My name is Richard Corey, and this is my show. This is part 2 of an episode with Daniel Habib. He's a former meta engineer who has now been the founder and head programmer of True3D Technology. You've seen him in Wired, TechCrunch, Y Combinator, and he's here today to talk about artificial intelligence. So to the third dimension and beyond, part 2. Danny, thanks for being here again.
Happy to be here, Rich.
So where we left off in part 1, we were talking about the implications for the future of artificial intelligence as compared to the human workforce. So I'm going to get right to the point. Are the new AI models, are they going to completely replace white collar workers, or is there, where do we stand with that? What's going on with these AI?
So the capabilities of these models are increasing every single day. They're getting better and better and better. But there is one problem that we haven't really solved, and that is who is accountable when one of these AI models goes off the rails, one of these agents goes off the rails. Let's say you program an agent.
Real quick, for our listeners, they may not know what an agent is. We brought that up in the first episode, but we might give a little reminder.
An agent you could think of as it's basically a model that you give agency to. You let it make decisions about what it should do. You let it say, I will go search the internet. I will go reach into your database. I will go update your database, things like that. So this term agent is really a sense of giving these models, these AI models, agency and giving them the ability to make decisions on their own and use tools.
All right.
So agents are becoming more and more capable. B2B SaaS is getting completely wiped out because any repetitive process where one person is taking information from here and moving it over here, refiguring it into some format.
Just replacing it with.
And easily. That's just obviously going to happen over the next year or two. It's going to be dramatic. But at the end of the day, we still will need people signing off on the work that these AIs are doing. Okay. So if I write an agent, an AI bot, that can go search the web and can go do all these kinds of things and maybe operate machinery, who is responsible? Who gets sued if somebody dies from that action? Is it the code? You can't really sue code. I would probably be responsible. So at the end of the day, liability is something that we still have baked into our society. The laws are going to take some time to catch up to the point that we will give full responsibility to these models.
Now, what about some of these, like the general data protection regulations, the California Consumer Act? So we have state law for data protection, federal law for data protection, and then we have international law for data protection. Are these new LLM models all equipped to comply with all of the totality of these laws?
I actually think they're not equipped. They are intentionally unequipped to handle any new regulations or things like that.
What do you mean? To explain that.
It is limiting your training data directly impacts how your model will behave. We spend a lot of time on True3D making sure we get our assets from like verifiable sources, data we can generate ourselves, less from scraping from the internet. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of startups, especially overseas, adversaries that don't care. If you use any of if you look at the great example here is if you look at the text to video, 2D video models that are out today, you have Sora, and then you have Huan, which is one of the Chinese models. Okay. The Sora models cannot train on movies because there are copyright issues, trademark issues, things like that, preventing them from scraping all of the movies in the world and just pumping them into their machine learning model, their video generation model. The Chinese models do not care. They just go and grab all of our Pixar movies, all of our movies, period, dump them into their LLMs. And as a result, they're actually getting fantastic results just by increasing the data set.
So in other words, they're almost, in a sense, smarter. They're becoming smarter because they're having access to more, like unencumbered access to more intellectual.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Because they don't really care about our laws, they can just come and take all of our data. Whereas our own AI models are limited by the laws that are in place. So in a sense, we are set to lose that race to China.
when people are inputting their data, their personal information on something like ChatGPT, how does that affect? I mean, is there any privacy there, or is this all giving it to the world? And
Any software you're using, you should assume there's no privacy unless it's end-to-end encrypted. But if you're worried about your data actually going to train, the next ChatGPT model, you have to go into your settings and opt out of that. By default, they take all of your chats, all of your videos, all of your audio. They actually use that as training data for the model itself. Okay. The trick is you need to go and turn off take my data. Once you turn that off, they don't take your data anymore. But to say that any of it's private, even if you put it in a temporary chat, it's just not. None of this data is private on any platform. The government can see it.
so, as far as you're saying how some of these models are taken from the internet, some others are taking from verified sources. As far as something like a law library or a database like Westlaw, or the Westlaw's proprietary.
Already scraped. I
Isn't that
guarantee you, these have already been downloaded completely and dumped
so?
into
This is that
LLM.
is that a difficult thing to do?
No, it's very easy. It's something you can code up in 20, 30 minutes. It's very simple to do that, to rip all this information. You end up with a data challenge. Where are you going to store this data? How are you going to process this data? But the actual act of stealing, entire archives of anything is trivial. It's extremely trivial.
Wow. So as far as the ability so a lot of these models are now writing code, and they're based on prompts that are given by whoever's operating the system. So if the prompts are given, for example, to hack or things like that, there's nothing to stop it from creating codes that does that.
Yeah, of course.
Basically what
There's
you're saying.
nothing stopping it from creating code to do that. In fact, it's easier to make malicious code than it has ever been. But really, this gets more important when you start thinking about agents again. Okay. Because now instead of saying, give me code that can hack this computer, you just say, go hack this computer. And it can go hack that computer. You give it all the agency to run all the commands it wants to reach out into the internet, to get someone else's information through creative means you never would have considered. Tack on top of this voice agents. These are voice agents. These are AI models that sound more realistic than I sound right now. Okay. They can inject background noise. They can cough. They can have accents. They can make jokes. They can laugh.
Yeah, there's like dynamics in their voice and stuff.
There's no scams are getting aggressive and ridiculous. It's cheaper than ever and easier than ever to create one of these. And if you give an agent access to a voice model, and you say, go hack someone's computer, the voice agent could theoretically call that person, find their number, call them, figure out how to get all the information about them to piece together their password, right? That is something that's possible today.
So, is there any parameters, especially with the government, that are stopping their counteract?
There's stuff they're trying to do, but again, it's slow. It's slow. The government's very slow, and this is moving faster than the internet age came at us. It's incredibly quick. I've never seen anything like this. Every venture capitalist I've spoken to, even those that were around during the dot-com age and the bubble, this is unseen, the rate of progress today. And a lot of that is because creating software is easier than it's ever been. If you want to create a web app today, you don't even need to hire a developer. You could just go to lovable.dev or bolt.new. Both of these are excellent, and just ask what you want, and it will create the front end, the back end, connect all of it, give you a beautiful UI. And then if you want to edit it, you just say, clean this button up, make this look better, and it will go and figure out what that means. These are
There's
agents.
the ability to do that with websites too, huh?
Websites, not just front end websites, backends, databases, login, everything, all this stuff you used to have to hire engineers for, it's wiped out. Now, where do these models break down? They break down when you start looking at lower level code. When we're doing our stuff, it's kind of a crapshoot. We don't get a ton of value from LLMs. We definitely do, but they fall apart whenever we start talking about something like FFmpeg or, issues with CUDA, these like very low level concepts or issues that we run into. It'll get there. It's going to take a lot of time because there's nowhere near as much literature on the internet around this information, but it will get there in time. So today, the people who are in the software engineering space who have been completely one shot are junior front end developers. It's
Wow.
just going to keep moving up the stack. until you get to the point where you have one senior engineer managing something that used to take a department, like 30 people plus, and their job is resorting to just swiping, like, this is good, this is bad, fix this. They can do it all from their phone now. And really where their value comes in is in their accountability, as opposed to their ability to go and do the actual typing.
From a legal perspective, I'm looking out just from hearing you talk. There are so many legal implications, everything from, the discussions of what amounts to a felony to intellectual property issues to, it's infinite. I mean, it's groundbreaking stuff, but it's also a bit scary in a way because of the implications that it's making. Now, one of the things that you said was text to video in a 2D model. It's my understanding that you cracked the code, that you are the first company in the world that is doing text to 3D video model. Is that correct?
It is. And I would dive into the weeds, but I don't want to share all the secrets. But
give us a preview of what's to come.
Yeah. So text to 3D video is incredibly, incredibly powerful. There are a few utilities specifically that it enables. One of them being creating film assets for independent film creators and all the way up to studios like Pixar. So instead of having to handle meshes, textures, rigs, animations, any of that, you can now just one shot a 3D asset that's completely dynamic that you can drag and drop into your scene. On the other side of the spectrum, we can also create training data for robotics. Today, robots are stuck on pre-mapped terrain and roads. Think like San Francisco with Waymo, or warehouses where robots are just able to move pieces from end to end and maybe do simple operations. What they're lacking to let them go off-road is diverse training data. We can one-shot simulations. So we could say, give me a city block, and we will generate a fully realized city block with people walking down the street past each other, pigeons fighting over a piece of bread, cars driving in the street. No one else can do that today. And this will be a huge unlock just for robotics alone.
What are the implications for like live streaming or virtual reality or augmented reality?
There's a lot of value in what we're doing in the headset era that should be coming over the next 3 to 4 years. If you look at Meta's new headset, Orion, right? They're releasing the world's first consumer grade AR device. They'll be able to wear whip glasses, and it has this little wristwatch that you can use to actually control it. It's amazing. Our format is the most efficient way to stream 3D content in real time or as a recording.
So one of the things I understand in the space, especially with streaming 3D to the extent it was even possible, there was a lot of distortion. So like it would almost look like when you look at a panoramic, if I took a pano of 360 video, it'll be the whole thing, but it's all, you know what I'm saying? It's all distorted. Are you able to fix that? Were you able to come up with a solution for that?
And look, the only reason we were able to fix this is because it's been one heck of a journey with this company. 5 years ago, when we went at this problem, we ran into those technical limitations that I was talking about in the previous episode. Okay. Basically, 4.5 years later, AI has lifted those technical limitations. And we learned a lot of lessons from that first approach. There are companies that have raised over $100 million stuck in the wrong approach. They're climbing the wrong tree, dealing with problems that we have already solved where we are today. And the only reason we know not to be in that bucket, taking that other approach, is because I tried to do that 5 years ago and I learned the lessons the hard way. 8 months grinding on it. Okay. Coming back at this now, I have a lot of lessons and insights that I can't share all of them today.
Sure. No, don't.
We're climbing the right tree, and it has opened all of the doors around compression, around new models that can be trained, around what's possible and the accessibility of 3D video. 3D video will be set to completely replace flat 2D video the same way color completely replaced black and white video. It's night and day. It's a richer medium. It's closer to
when you say 3D video, is it going to be like when we were kids, you'd wear the glasses and it would pop out at you? Or is it going to be more like an Avatar film where it brings you into the movie? It's like submersive. What's the difference?
The term 3D video is loaded. You could think of what we're doing more as simulations, actually, than 3D videos. So think text to simulation, even. And these simulations are fully realized with volume. So instead of just sending you a little trick effect with your eyes, like they did with 3D movies, where you put on the glasses, and you have the red and blue. All that is a little parallax effect where if I see my right eye, my left eye, if something comes closer to the screen, I can have some depth. So it looks like it actually came closer to my face. That is more of a trick. That's not actually the future. That is what Apple is doing with their spatial video format. And they defined this format back in 2014, before the modern age of AI and before the age of modern headsets. Um, what we've done is started from first principles and said, okay, well, what does the user actually care about? What would be the richest possible medium we can convey, that we can transmit? And that means transmitting entire volumes. So instead of just sending a little right and left eye effect, we send my entire head, the entire structure of the front of my face, the back of my face, the hair, the back of my shirt,
And that's
everything.
the proprietary software that you created with True3D.
Yes, this is where a lot of our work has been. This is what we've been grinding on, the very low level stuff for the last 9 months.
When you say low level, what do you mean? Because this doesn't
I mean, on
sound
the bit and byte level. So we built our own file format from the ground up for this solution. We're actually going to be open sourcing the file format and some of our players over the next 2 months, which is very exciting, getting people's hands on these things.
nice.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And once people see this, it's going to become the standard for
So
3D video transmission.
I want to talk a little bit about. So I know you did some work with Fox Sports, with SpaceX, and with CNN. I mean, I don't know if you have any confidentiality agreements. Don't answer the question, but to the extent you can.
You could think of it, a lot of that work relied on driving their live streams. So you could think of it as when SpaceX goes live and they're doing a rocket launch, they might spend up to $1 million just on the broadcast, getting the talent, getting the cameras, getting the production system set up, just on the live stream that they would stream to the different platforms. Where I sat when I was at Meta was if anything went wrong with them or we had a high profile broadcast, I was interfacing with them directly. If a SpaceX launch went down, I was responding. If the Masked Singer had an issue in Thailand, I was getting woken up at 4 a.m. to handle it. That's where I sat. And what you learn when you deal with these premium broadcasters is premium broadcasters have a much different set of constraints than me going live from my cell phone. Okay, it's just a completely different thing. And it's actually a different viewer experience as well.
With the innovations like yours, including a 99.99% real-time compression rate, how do you see, like, what are the potential applications for the future?
Yeah. If you think about this in just the broad picture here, this is set to completely replace 2D video. You just get a richer experience. I can send you a fun demo after this, but even on flat 2D screens,
I won't share it with anybody.
yeah. But even on flat 2D screens, we're going to be launching most of this publicly anyway pretty soon. So even on flat 2D screens like my phone or my computer, I can still feel like I'm actually looking at a fully 3D Richard Corey. As I shift my weight in my seat,
How? I mean, I guess I'd have to
Secret
law
sauce.
relativity. I got to see it to understand.
That is the secret sauce, and it's pretty incredible. All from
This is your proprietary product.
This is what we've been working very, very hard to do. And the fact that it all works real time means there's really not a video application that we can't replace. So even things from YouTube to Zoom to you name it.
So
remote telesurgery, we can handle all of these kind of things.
So are consumers going to need new product or new like products or equipment to use your software?
No, this is very, very important. This all works even with these spatial effects from your phone or your computer or your tablet. It doesn't matter. Any device, and down the line, any kind of 3D representations that you need for AR or VR, it'll be.
And you're planning on doing this through what, licensing agreements or?
Well, there's different elements to our strategy, yeah, but we'll be putting our APIs behind paywalls, and people will be able to spin up their own 3D videos on their own websites, very easily.
All right, so we're coming up to the end of this episode. As before we end, though, I'd like to ask you, what advice would you have for an aspiring entrepreneur getting into the tech space, particularly the AI space, on how to navigate their, whatever their dream is and become an innovator just like yourself?
Start today and talk to your users. Those are the two things. The reason for that, it's never been a better time to create a startup. It's effortless. There are websites out there to bridge your vision to the technical prototype in 10 minutes. you should go make that prototype. You should start talking to your users too, because that's really the only source of true data. Everything else is kind of noise. Investors, your own gut feeling, these are all signals that you can't really rely on. What you can rely on is customer interviews, getting in front of people that you think will actually want your products. Those are the two pieces of advice. Apply to accelerators. If you think you have a vision that can go to billions of dollars to change the world, definitely apply to accelerators. It'll help you navigate all of the mistakes that well-intentioned, hardworking founders make in the early days. I can't stress that to you enough. We are very lucky. We went through Y Combinator. It saved us a lot of headache. So yeah, that's what I would say.
All right, Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. You know what? We're going to probably have to get you back on because I feel like this conversation's
There's a lot to say.
just getting started. We could talk all day on this.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
really.
yeah, always.
I wish you the best with True3D. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Just want to thank you again for being on the show. This is Enterprise Unleashed, Business Law and Innovation. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.